Good afternoon. My name is Greg Lassiter, and I'm the host of 30 Frames a Second. We have a great show for you today. We got a lot of news to cover, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
All praise is due to Allah. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his servant and messenger. I greet you again with the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum. And happy Savior's Day. And before I start, I want everyone to give a round of applause to Brother Sunni and Brother Arthur. Another round of applause. I would, of course, like to give thanks to our East Coast Regional Minister, Student Mr. Abdul Hafiz Muhammad, for allowing me this opportunity to share a few words again. This is always a great honor and a great privilege. Now, I want to lift up an article from the Final Call newspaper entitled, "Ask Questions and Learn All About Yourself." Now, this was one of many articles written by our sister, the wife of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Mother Tainetta Muhammad, and may Allah be pleased with her, which were all themed unveiling the number 19. She stated, "The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad always encouraged his followers to ask questions and learn all about ourselves, which is the essence of everything in Allah's divine creation. He would often say to us that Allah, God, is a wise God, coming to us asking questions. This methodology teaches us not to take anything on face value, but to probe into the deepest secrets of life and the life force. We are programmed not to fear the unexpected and to accept the mental attitude that nothing is impossible." Now, I found this statement to be very powerful and insightful, and I want to expound on the concept of face value, offering a different perspective from my understanding. The word face is defined as a manifestation or outward aspect of something, the surface of a thing, especially one that is presented to the view or has a particular function. Now, brothers and sisters, a person's face is the defining feature of the human body.
Right.
It is what allows us to express emotion, and we can dictate how we feel based on our expression.
Yeah.
But it's often said that looks can be deceiving. For the control we have of our appearance, especially in the face, can affect how we are treated and how people respond to us during interactions.
Come on.
If someone is very attractive, for example, those around them are more likely to interact with them just due to their appearance. The intentions of the individual approaching the attractive individual are based on their superficial outlook of the person, not their knowledge of who the person truly is. This individual will present themselves in this fashion with either the intent of attracting attention or for their own personal satisfaction. Now, when you walked into the mosque today and you saw the brother and sister greet you, they greeted you with a smile. Or I hope they did.
Yes, sir. Come on.
And if they were mean mugging you, you would treat them and respond to them and interact with them based on how they look or how their expression looks.
That's right, brother.
So this is why we say Allah came in the person of Master Fard Muhammad. Person is the outward appearance. Person is the look. He came with an attractive appearance. He came with the exterior that was shaped by his father, whereas he will be able to come among us with an appearance that will attract the people.
Come on.
You see, in the Supreme Wisdom Lessons, it says that Yaqub was playing with two pieces of steel.
Yes.
It says that one piece had magnetic in it and the other piece did not. So magnetism is attraction. And this is the concept of face value. It uses the concept of attraction.
Come on now.
So let's go further. Value is the regard that something is held to deserve, the importance, worth, or usefulness of something, to consider someone or something to be important or beneficial, to have a high opinion of. Now, brothers and sisters, if we value something, we do everything in our power to defend and protect it, whether it be our family, a possession that we have, and especially our money.
Come on, man.
You see, typically the value placed in this valuable possession is warranted due to the knowledge and understanding we have of that possession. You see, if we just met someone, just met someone, and we shook their hand and then moved on, we wouldn't say we value that person. We wouldn't say that we would do anything to protect that person. Just like we wouldn't say that we value someone else's money. We're not worried about someone else's earnings. We're worried about securing our own bag, as one would say.
Yes, sir.
So, however, this may sound bizarre, but this is exactly what is going on every day. By taking these false ideologies at face value, although we have not a true understanding of what they truly mean, we are being fed things and having not a true understanding of what we are being fed mentally. So when we combine these two words, face and value, based on our understanding, we know that it means placing value in something by which we only been exposed to the outward appearance or outward understanding of. Taking anything at face value is dangerous, because our failure to look deep into something means that the person who is teaching us has the ability to manipulate our minds while we remain oblivious. See, our failure to look deep into that which we have been taught is what allows this to happen. See, this is an effective tool used by our enemy, because what we are doing sounds good to us. That thin layer of attractiveness is enough to manipulate the undeveloped mind, as long as it offers to that person some kind of personal gain or pleasure. You see, many at a young age were told that a large white man by the name of Santa Claus would come and bring us gifts.
Face back. Face back.
The parents, understanding that the child's mind is undeveloped and impressionable, knew that the child would take it at face value because of the personal gain that was gained from this white man supposedly coming to their house. Their personal gain, which were given to them from gifts by this fictional character. But why does this phenomenon continue on today, constantly affecting those who are presumed to be more developed than a child? See, to put it simply, we take what the white man tells us at face value because we value a white face. All praise is due to Allah. And this will not change. This will not change until we love, honor, and value our own, which is the black race. You see, some might think this might be racism. But brothers and sisters, the Untitled Chapter teaches us that when you have a deep understanding and a deep passion and dedication to your own people, this is not racism, but it is when you love your own people while hating those others around you, that is when it becomes wickedness. But this is not what we are doing. This is not the nature of the Muslim. See, brothers and sisters, our issue is that we love others, but we don't love our own. This is why we take what others tell us at face value. You see, our people love KFC. Is that right? And when they are told that their chicken is 100% authentic, they will eat that, no questions asked. But when yes, sir. But when one of our brothers and sisters opens up their own restaurant, making the same exact claim, we become a little skeptical, a little hesitant in our patronization of that business. So we'd rather support Colonel Sanders than our own brothers and sisters who are trying to do for self. We take what they say at face value because we value a white face. You see, the same goes for many of the services and the many products that we consume on a daily basis. The conditions we are under are shaping and fixing our minds to believe that the white face has more value than the black face. You see, Christianity places the white face on Jesus Christ. And we believe in this teaching on face value, not doing our own research into the scriptures, where it clearly states that he had skin like burning glass. He had hair like sheep's wool. You see, brothers and sisters, we are destroyed for our lack of knowledge. The Untitled Chapter put it like this. He said, God did not create man to be a beast. He created man to reflect himself. He says, so if you're a beast, that means you have not evolved. In fact, your ruler has kept you from evolving. The way you think has kept you from evolving. You think subhuman. Therefore, you act subhuman. He said religion doesn't make you human. Religion sanctifies your subhuman condition. You see, so we are satisfied with religion that has inherently led us to believe that the white face has more value than the black face because we take these teachings on face value. and because these religions sanctify or condone our subhuman behavior. You see, brothers and sisters, the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad are based in actual facts. But he still encouraged us to ask questions and do our own research, whether we agree or disagree. You see, we are taught that one of the characteristics of the human being that distinguishes us from the beast in the wild is our ability to inquire, our curiosity. So a failure to inquire into that which we have been taught prevents us from evolving and becoming reflections of God. So brothers and sisters, the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad instill back within us the knowledge of self. And when you have self-knowledge, this breeds the understanding of your true value. And this one's still with us, not the ability to take things on face value, but to value the black face. Thank you, brothers and sisters, for listening. As I greet you in peace, assalamu alaikum.
Welcome to 30 Frames a Second. That was a quite interesting speech by Joshua Muhammad from Mosque number 7, I would imagine. But welcome to 30 Frames. I'm your host, Greg Lassiter, and I'm here with the creator, the man, the myth, the legend, Nat Wood. Nat, welcome to your show.
Keep the camera on him. unless you want to shoot my nether regions.
But today we have a huge, we have a lot to talk about today. Nat, welcome.
Oh, thank you, brother.
Okay. Now let's talk about, what's his name? Laquan.
Oh, Laquan Mcdonald.
Laquan Mcdonald was a young man in Chicago in October of 2014.
That is correct.
He was walking down the street.
Right. He had like a knife in one hand.
Right.
He was somewhat
Belligerent.
No, he wasn't
Was he
belligerent.
belligerent?
There's no evidence he was belligerent, but he was apparently erratic.
Okay. Did he have some mental issues?
Well, I don't know. The fact that you're walking down the middle of the street would suggest
Right,
that
you have some issues. High
there's
or something.
But he wasn't belligerent. He never got close enough to anybody to be belligerent. As a matter of fact, if you saw in the video, he was wandering more to the other side.
To get away from the
By the
policeman.
time he got shot, he was clear on the other side or straddling the divider itself.
Right. And the policeman shot him 16
times. Correct.
And that policeman, I forgot the policeman's name, but Drake or I know get to it.
I'll let
but
you
the
know.
policeman got convicted.
Of second-degree murder.
Second-degree murder and
aggravated.
16
Right.
counts of aggravated battery.
Correct.
Aggravated battery.
Correct.
So
the
this
jury
guy-
didn't buy what he was saying.
Right.
What he was saying was
He said he felt his life was threatened, but the guy had a knife. If he shot him once. They didn't have to shoot to kill him, but he shot him
He
16
didn't have to
times.
shoot him at all.
Right.
As a matter of fact,
Use a taser.
I mean, if there's any doubt, all you got to do is look at the ground.
Right.
He started on one side of the separator that separates
divide.
traffic going
Yeah.
in the same
The
direction.
double line.
But by the time he was shot, he was straddling the middle of the line. So he
Right.
was wandering
Away.
away.
He wasn't going towards
wandering
the
away.
policeman,
He
right.
never went towards the police,
Right.
and he never faced the policeman.
Right. And
Policeman just opened fire.
And that's indicative of what's happening with Chicago. They held that particular footage for 2 years.
Right.
They held it.
Right. Well,
Emmanuel.
Emmanuel was running for re-election.
Yeah,
in
and that's
2015.
what. And I don't understand. Chicago has the highest murder rate in the country right now. In the country.
Yeah.
And that-
Chicago is a handful.
Yeah, and I don't understand. There's a couple things I don't understand. Why do they keep electing Rahm Emanuel?
Oh God, that's a good question.
Their murder rate surpassed Washington D.C.'s murder rate at its height.
Well, when in terms of strategies, and actively progressing from one point to another, we seem to be lacking.
Right.
So we have a lot of people arguing about which strategies will not work. So that's why they don't do it. But really, the most troubling part is that most people don't do anything, and they just try to justify not doing anything by telling you it doesn't work.
Right.
In point of fact, you're right. We need to. We have allowed a lot of people to be elected.
Right. Continuously.
Continuously, and that has had a negative effect on our development. But they got us in like a state of stupid.
Do they have us in the state of stupid, or do we have ourselves in the state of stupid?
Well, it was their intention for us to be stupid, and we obliged.
Right.
You know.
Right. Well, you're right. You're right. We allowed it to happen. Right now, in Chicago, the murder is 15.65 per 100,000 people. That's a day.
Yeah.
15 murders a day in Chicago. Almost 16 murders a day. And 95% of that is people of color.
Yeah.
And I don't see that. To me, that would be, as a mayor, that would be alarming. Wouldn't you think?
Well, one of the reasons why I put this young man on, Joshua Muhammad, he basically said everything I say.
Right.
But it's good to know that we have youth coming up that actually see what's going on.
Right.
And it's coming from a source that people try very hard to dismiss, the
That's
Nation
right.
of Islam.
But do you know, and this is funny because the Nation of Islam is a group that wants to help self, wants to help the community.
That is correct. If you analyze, Nikki Haley, and I'm going to bring all this together in a
and
moment.
we will resign,
you know,
yes.
Right. Resigned.
Right.
Well, she'll officially be gone in a year.
Right. At the end of the year.
At the end of the year.
Okay.
But she resigned. Nikki Haley, now, when you look at Nikki Haley and what's the guy with the mustache, big bulldog mustache?
Bolton?
Bolton.
Right.
Okay. You look at three individuals: John Bolton,
Yep.
Donald Trump, Nikki Haley.
Right.
Now, Nikki Haley and Bolton are politicians.
Right. True politicians.
True politicians.
Because Nikki Haley was the governor of South Carolina.
Of South Carolina.
Right.
Now, I'll tell you about the difference of in politicians and capitalists, especially capitalists that come from the elite world, sort of the second estate world.
Right. Correct.
actually the first estate world,
Right,
you
okay,
know, because
right.
they're more akin to like,
Right, okay.
you know,
Right, okay.
the church than
Right.
anything else, the church of money. And this is the difference between Donald Trump, Nikki Haley, and
John
Bolton.
Okay.
John Bolton and Nikki Haley are both imperialists first,
Right.
and capitalism is a means to attaining imperialism.
Right. So, but, and okay, go ahead.
Donald Trump is a capitalist first, and imperialism is a means to enriching
Right.
capitalism.
Right,
So
right.
they all have the same basic agendas, but the purpose is slightly different.
Right.
Trump uses imperialism to make him a richer capitalist. They use capitalism to
enrich-
rule, right?
To enrich the imperialists. Right. That was well said.
The difference between Nikki Haley and John Bolton is Bolton is an old white man, which means that he is on the top layer of imperialism.
Right. Very much so. Very much
And
so.
that layer is very, very difficult to break. It's even more difficult to break than being on the top layer of capitalism.
But I don't think you can break that. They have to die off.
Well, they can't die off because it's an ideology. It's not a physical person.
But you see these guys like Bolton, and you see these guys like McConnell, because McConnell's the same. All those guys are the old white men who are imperialistic, but does care little about capitalism,
Right,
because
right,
it kind of goes.
right,
If you're
right,
imperialistic,
right,
you don't
right.
have to worry about
Right,
money.
right.
Because wherever you go, you're
Right.
taken care of.
Capitalism, since it uses imperialism, you have to remember that imperialism, in and of itself, is the standard of
Right.
white supremacy.
It really is. It really
You
is.
know,
And people
it's
won't
what-
understand that,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it really is.
Right,
it really is.
right.
Because think about when imperialism was when it's built.
Right.
It was nobody of color.
Right.
Because we were all the people of
Right,
color were
right,
servants.
Right.
So
right.
that ideology still
Right.
stands today.
And the European ideology is their cultural identity is based on colonialism, on conquering other nations of people. It's their very identity is one of imperialism.
That's right. That's
More
exactly
so
right.
than anything else.
Right.
More so than dancing
why
and
the
singing and drawing
Europeans
paintings.
have conquered all the Caribbean islands.
That's why they love Game of Thrones and vampire
Yeah, see, I
stuff
don't
and
like
anything.
stuff like that.
But no, anything that has a king and you
Right.
conquer stuff,
Right.
they're crazy about. Anything that gives you ultimate overall power,
yeah.
and dominion, they're crazy about. It's in them.
But-
and on some level, white females still bow to the pecking order of white supremacy and imperialism, which puts the white male at the top of the food chain.
But it's funny you say that, because if you look at the Me Too movement, that was, quote unquote, started by a black female,
Right.
which you hear very little about.
Right.
The Me Too movement is about white females.
And the Me Too movement, like I said, the European mindset, the European identity is first and foremost imperialistic.
Very much so.
They're colonizers.
They're colonizers, that's right.
The white female wants a piece of the action, but she does not want to break the
white male's
right,
ego.
Right.
So you don't want
Well, not just that. They don't want to break imperialism. They don't want to like make it so that everyone has an equal shot at it.
Right,
They
right.
don't want to like completely decimate the pecking order. They're not. I mean,
But that's fraud, though. That is fraud. But if
they don't see it, so
but I'm saying,
it's only lying if you know you're lying. If you think you're telling the truth, it ain't lying.
No. So what's the new thing? It's your version of the truth.
But that's the only truth you have.
Your version.
Right. What you
but if
think
you
is
put the facts,
reality
but
is
the reality is facts, though. Facts are reality. That's not your version. See, people says, "Oh, do you know how?" All the commentators are now saying, "This is my best version of the truth." What does that even mean? You believe your own lie.
But right. That's exactly it. What you think is reality is reality.
Right.
And.
But what happened to facts, Nat?
Well, facts are fine as long as they don't become inconvenient. You know.
But see that the way you put it, and I'm just going to say how Nat's put it. Now, the white female doesn't want to break the white male's imperialistic throne. They just want a little bit part of it, but they don't want to get to the actual top. Then the Me Too movement is kind of full of shit.
Well, it kind of is. It kind of is because,
and I'm
but
saying
they don't know it. But they're sincere in what they're talking about. Have you ever been to a party with nothing but white folks?
Yeah, all the time.
They think everybody's there.
Right.
They don't even realize that there's nobody there but other white folks. They think the Chinese are over there, you know, and the Puerto Ricans are over there.
What it is, they don't see it.
They don't see it.
They don't see it.
When you turn on the TV and there's nothing but white people on the TV,
right.
They don't know it's nothing but white people on the TV.
But it could be black people there, but they don't see that.
You turn on a talk show, they're talking about reparations.
Right.
The whole damn table is full of white people talking about what black people should and shouldn't do.
Right.
Ain't no black people in the discussion.
But why do they think
they don't realize it because they don't. When they say they don't see race,
no, they don't. But that's the arrogance. That's arrogance.
That is correct.
That is arrogance.
That is correct.
Because if you sit there and say, oh my God, you know what? I want to talk about reparations of black people, and you have no black people sitting at the table, that's saying that, you know what? I'm so arrogant. I have the right to talk about this. I have the right to say what I wanted to say about black people, and black people have no rights at all.
White people are doing good. White people, and this is why we have these little think tank, like Malcolm used to talk about this. Mm-hmm. The quote unquote liberal white person.
It's the worst white person. Actually, it really
but
is.
they believe that they are being inclusive. What they are being is polite.
No, I don't think it's polite. What they're being is patronizing.
Patronizing is a better,
right,
you know. But as I said, imperialism and white supremacy is the culture itself. I'm not even going to say it's ingrained in the culture.
Right.
It is the dominant force of the culture. Colonialism is the dominant ideology of Europeans.
But you know, speaking of colonialism and how the Europeans colonialized all the Caribbean islands right to this day, that not one Caribbean island has taken itself out of British rule.
Well, the young man Joshua Muhammad said something very interesting, and I hope that it didn't go over people's heads.
Which it did. I know what you're going to say.
But he said something. He was talking about what is racist, and he said, if you are trying to make yourself better, if you're trying to
bring yourself up,
lift yourself up, and at the same time hate other people.
Right.
That's wicked.
Right.
But if you do this, but you're not hateful, you don't become this bastard that we talk about.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
I'll go a little further into that. One of the things about colonialism is that you have to understand what you're dealing with. The nature of colonialism, the nature of getting on a ship and deciding you're going to take anything that this person has, this country has, not person, this nation has, this group of people have, you have to strategize. You have to have a game plan going in, and the game plan has to be fluid because it has to change with each situation.
Right.
So they come to the table with a big picture perspective.
Right. Christopher Columbus.
Right, right. You cannot simply react to colonialism.
Right.
Because it means that you are trying to counterpunch a thinking machine.
Right.
And the machine just changes tactics.
Yeah, just change the game. They change the game.
Completely changes the game. So you're always a step ahead, a step behind.
Right.
You have to strategize on how you will deal with white supremacy.
Right.
And not become a white supremacist in blackface.
That's correct. That's perfect. That's correct. You're absolutely right. Now, explain that one more time to the people, because that was to understand white supremacy.
Right, right.
And not, like, for instance,
Right.
Clarence Thomas
Right.
understands white supremacy.
Correct.
But yet he's blackface.
Well, he understands it and he submits to it.
Right.
That's different from white women. They say they don't understand it, but
They do.
like I said, they understand it. They manipulate it, try to find ways to deal with it, but they're not trying to break the chains of white supremacy.
Because they can. Women
They
can.
can.
They can. Women can.
They can. They
White
can.
women can.
In order to break the chains of white supremacy, Europeans have to change.
Right.
Not the other nations of
Right.
the world.
Right.
But the other nations cannot become accommodating to white supremacy because that just enables it to stay alive longer and longer and longer.
But women in this Me Too movement could break the chains of white supremacy if they were inclusive.
If everybody, if the masses of people, if their intention was to break the chains of white supremacy, there would be no white supremacy.
Absolutely. But see, I think you have a great point, because white supremacy can be broken.
Of course.
It can be broken.
Of course.
Either we as black people,
Right.
all we have to do is come together.
That is correct. That is correct. We alone cannot break white supremacy,
No.
but we can break the hold white supremacy has on us.
Right.
We can
That's-
cheat it out of its victory.
But when we do that, then we can still control what if we brought.
That is
you
correct.
See, you see where I'm going
That
with
is
this, right?
correct. That is correct.
Once we
That
get
is
that,
correct.
that's
That is
half the
correct.
battle.
That is correct.
That is half
That
the
is
battle.
correct.
So that's the issue that we talk about constantly, just
Right,
not on
right.
the TV, but constantly. What's it going to take for us African American people of color?
Correct.
To break the bonds of white supremacy within us?
We have to start seeing value in
In
our
us.
own faces.
Right. Just like
We
Brother Joshua.
value a
like-
white face.
Why?
So we value, but
Well, it's
that's-
not even value. I think we look for white people to legitimize us.
Right. That's
Just
what he
what
was
I'm saying.
saying. When you take something on face value, you value stuff according to the
What
face
face-
that you
that-
think
that you see, right.
that you see. That white people could say the whole real estate crash when they had just black people all over the country buying up bum real estate at crazy rates.
Right. Look.
You would never. I couldn't. A black person cannot come into your church
Right,
and
right.
convince them to do this stupid
Right,
thing.
right.
Only a white person. You dress a white person. You can get a white person, a homeless white person. Wash
him
his
up.
ass up.
Dress him
put a
up.
tie on him, and
You're going to make
you
anything
can
you want.
Right, you can send him to the black church. He'll come out with most of the money in the
right,
damn
he
church,
would.
and most of the people's names on the dotted line because they see value in what he says.
But if
They
a black
assume-
person comes in there,
they will scrutinize them. Oh, no, please.
why?
Don't come
That
up to me,
blows my
silly
mind.
stuff.
But you know what? That's indicative of black churches, though. You know that, right?
It's indicative of the masses of black people. When they talk about a colonized mind,
Right.
that's exactly what it is.
Right.
So the way you break the hold on white supremacy is to decolonize your mind.
Yeah, but now, let me ask you. So that keeps when you keep talking about that, it always takes me back because I was down in the Caribbean not long ago. the Caribbean is full of black people.
Right. With a white Jesus.
But yeah, that's white rule.
You go to one of those. I went to a church in Haiti, and you can't get no blacker than them people in Haiti.
They blue black.
You could line up. You could take a line, half Haitians, half Africans, and say who's who. There's no way you could tell.
No,
there's no way you could tell.
Right, you're
so
right.
I go to this church, and everybody is like black. No, I mean you high yelling in Haiti. And I look, and it's the whitest Jesus I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, because their mind, and that's funny. It's not funny, but it is funny because all throughout the Caribbean, where the European has colonized, they're okay with that.
And that's the Europeans' ultimate weapon. The Europeans' ultimate weapon is not military might.
No.
As a matter of fact, he only uses the majority of his military might when he's dealing with other Europeans.
Right.
Mostly especially in Africa, his main weapon is that he's clever. He uses subterfuge. He gets a handful of people
Right.
To sign into his whatever it is,
Right.
and he uses the people themselves to enforce his rule.
But that's what
Obama was the first president to bomb Africa.
Right.
You know,
It wasn't a white man.
And a whole lot of nukes fell in Africa and
No.
whatnot, but they've colonized the whole place.
But you see how
Slave ships came to Africa.
Right.
That's not no overwhelming military might that can't be dealt with.
right. Nobody came in and bombarded them and said, "Hey."
Right.
You know.
Right.
But look at it like this. Now, you know what? It's interesting now that we're talking about this because we as black people in America,
Right.
we got sold the bill of goods. We got sold the bill of goods.
I think they're playing something. Y'all got to turn off the Mac or something.
You know,
something coming off the Mac.
Yeah, I hear that. They sold us the bill of goods to pit one another against each other.
Yeah.
You know, so
of course.
So-
That's the true nature of white supremacy.
Right.
White supremacy is held up by billions of people who gain nothing from its existence.
You're right, but I think what they gain is the sense of I'm better than you are.
That's the only thing they gain. There's no tangible.
No, you can't. There's nothing. Right.
You can't spend it. It's not going to change your condition.
White supremacy, even the poorest of the poor white people.
That's what I'm talking about predominantly. They gain nothing from this ideology.
But we're smarter than they are. We have more money than they do, but they still think they're better than we are.
They gained nothing from the institution of slavery. What they did was lose the jobs that they had
Right.
with no hope of getting new ones.
Right.
You
And
bring
no
in
education.
You come in with these ships, this whole new labor pool of free labor. Somebody's got to pay for that.
Right.
It's the people who are already there.
Right.
when they bring in slave labor, whoever they would have to hire is now out of the game.
And that's what the elections, the midterms are coming.
Oh.
Now, Donald Trump thinks he's riding on this Kavanaugh nomination. Now, it doesn't take rocket science to figure out that people think Donald Trump has done something. Unemployment is at its lowest. People seem to forget that Obama, he's still riding Obama's wave because unemployment is 3.8%. But the stock market is doing well, not because of what Donald Trump has done or is doing. What he did was deregulate what Obama regulated so we wouldn't be in the crisis that we were in when the banks were getting ready to go under. So that has that is trickery.
First of all, Donald Trump is not trying to fool all of the people all of the time. He's not trying to fool all of the people some of the time. He's trying to fool some of the people all of the time.
Right.
And logic is a weak weapon against programming. Donald Trump is reinforcing the bigotry that is already in them over and over and over again. The reason the trick works it's because you want it to work.
Right, right. But you, like you say, Nat, you're still poor, you still have no job, and you still have this ideology that, oh my God, because Donald Trump said it, you're still in the same place you were 10 years ago.
And I still don't care what you say, Negro.
But
Donald Trump is my president,
but
and he's gonna fix you Negroes.
But
That's
see,
right.
that the ideology, you would think this 21st century, the ideology would be played out.
Yes, you would. Yes, you would. Yes, you would. But it never has played out at any time ever. It's been subjugated. It's been confined.
Right, pushed under the rug.
Right. But it has fought to get out every step of the way. They changed parties. They went from Dixiecrat to Republican.
Right.
Sleight of hand.
But people don't understand that blacks were always
Republicans. Right, right.
Because
Republican was Abe Lincoln. Republican was the abolitionist
Right.
movement.
Frederick Douglass was a Republican.
Yes, yes.
He was a
but
Republican.
those are just uniforms.
Yeah, yeah.
Those are just uniforms.
But
Don't matter what uniform you. It don't matter whether whether they wear the home team white or the visiting blue.
But now I look at racism now, Nat, and white supremacy now. It's reared its ugly head worse, if that makes sense. It's become worse because of Donald Trump. But
That is true. That is true. It's unabashed.
Right.
We talked about this last week. We just had the UN debates.
Right. The speeches.
Right. 196 countries.
Right.
Nikki Haley was UN ambassador from
For
the
the
US.
U.S. Right.
Nikki Haley went on this tirade. They would go on this tirade, especially against Cuba and Venezuela, and they would bring up Israel. And the United States pulled out of the Human Rights Commission of the United Nations.
That's correct.
But the United Nations have had certain rules in place. Rules about the proliferation of nuclear weapons, who
Right.
could and who couldn't.
Right.
Also, rules as it pertains to sanctions.
Right.
And
That's correct.
sanctions as it pertains to humanitarian efforts. In order, according to the UN, it is illegal to put sanctions on a country that affects their capacity to get food and medicine.
Right. But hold on.
Right.
Which we put sanctions on Venezuela.
That is correct.
But not because
That is
they're
correct.
communists, because they're not
Venezuela, Zimbabwe, Iran, all of these things, according to the UN Charter, is illegal.
Okay.
Everything that the United States has done, and that's exactly what the UN, the United States has put new sanctions on Venezuela.
Right.
Those sanctions are designed to what Venezuela was gonna do in order to get food and medicine, circumvent the sanctions because it has so much oil and so much gold.
Right. But
is to use a form of cryptocurrency
Right,
that
right.
would
That's
be called
exactly-
the petro because it's based upon their oil, and
That's
they
right.
have like probably the biggest oil reserves in the world.
In the world. Right.
Okay. The new wave of sanctions that the U.S. is putting on Venezuela is designed to make sure that they cannot use the cryptocurrency as currency to get the things that they need to survive, basically food and medicine.
But okay, go ahead. Continue.
Sanctions, the UN has already had long-standing charters that go back to Cuba.
Right.
Against imposing sanctions on a country that hinders humanitarian efforts, aka food
Food,
and medicine.
Food and medicine.
You can't restrict food and a country from getting food and medicine.
But now think about this. Why do we have sanctions on Venezuela? Because Venezuela is not communist.
No, and
The-
Venezuela is not gangster.
No,
there's
no.
no drug cartel. It's not Colombia. It's not Nicaragua.
Why? Because we couldn't take their oil.
That is because we could not privatize their oil and their gold.
Right.
And
Chavez was not having that. When he was
Chavez is not having it. Cuba wasn't having it.
Right.
There's a lot. Zimbabwe is not having it. There's a lot of countries that's sick of white supremacist hegemony
Right.
that controls all of their products and all of their resources. It's like if a gang of white men said, you can't have Greg's jet because we want it. We want it.
Right.
I don't care how much. I don't care how much time and effort you put into
Right.
it. I don't even give a damn if your daddy gave it to you
Right.
personally
Right.
and said you're the only person I trust in the world.
Right.
And if you use the profits to benefit your community, your kids, your family, the people around you, suddenly that makes you a socialist as
Right.
opposed to a true capitalist.
Right.
We need to control your source of income, control your businesses, and make sure that it does not benefit anything around you.
Right.
Otherwise,
That's exactly right.
we will kill you.
Right. Not only that, they will price me out because they will say they will. So I will go out of business. They would drive the price of jet fuel up.
They're not just driving the price of jet fuel up. They're going to make sure that you're going to watch your children starve in front of your eyes while they do this.
And I can't
they're
do
going to
anything.
They're going to drive the price of everything up.
Yep.
But they're going to slowly starve to death every single thing that you hold dear and love in the world.
That's exactly right. And see, I think the world I think is getting smarter against white supremacy and see it for what it is. Why can't we in America, as black people and brown people, see that?
Because America is the last and only and greatest European empire still standing.
It's not the greatest, though. It's not the greatest.
Well, in terms of nuclear weapons,
right. The strongest, right. Okay.
In terms of unprecedented weaponry,
Right.
America is a thing that has never been seen on the planet before in terms of its weaponry. And when you look at the rest of Europe, without America holding them up, they ain't so tough.
No, they're not tough at all.
You know,
None of them.
Ain't nobody scared of France. Ain't nobody scared of England.
Right. But because they're our allies and we back them up.
Right.
But see, this is what kills me when we go into these
Israel wouldn't be so tough if they didn't have all them airplanes.
But Israel's not tough.
I know. Without America holding up European empire, the whole premise of white supremacy would evaporate.
Right.
And America, white supremacist America, the good old boy network of America, is in its drawers, terrified because it's getting harder and harder to hold on to this.
Because we used to disguise going into other countries is showing them democracy. That's how we
we still try to say that.
But everybody sees through that.
Right.
So the white man.
Not everybody. They give you a little comfort to your oppression, but you got to pay for it.
Yeah, of course.
You know.
But see, that's what you see how our senators. What's that guy? Graham.
Right.
He was always calm, cool, and collected.
He
just lost his stuff. He just lost his stuff.
Yeah, all of them lost their stuff.
Because they see what's happening.
Right.
It's not the blue wave that they're worried about.
Right.
Those people are dying out.
That is correct. They have a problem.
Right.
Houston, we got a problem.
We got a big problem.
That's right.
But see, people don't understand this too. You know, they say you can. Most people think that you can be in the Supreme Court for life.
Right.
You can be impeached.
Right.
People don't understand it. You could be impeached. The Democrats wanted to impeach Kavanaugh.
Right.
If they get the majority, they could do that.
Right.
Will they do that? No.
I'm going to say something that is going to make some people mad, especially some people who actually like me a little bit. I don't think anybody likes me a lot, but there's
I
some
like
people
you a
who
lot,
like
brother.
me a little bit.
I like you a lot, brother.
But I'm gonna say something that a lot of people are gonna take offense to.
Okay.
Because of white supremacy, because of European hegemony, because of colonialism, the entire planet is operating against nature itself.
That's right.
It is not. It is not natural to try to maintain ethnic purity. It is natural. It is natural to breed and love and move around with other people all over the world. That would be our natural state.
Right.
If none of this race stuff existed,
Right.
which is an aberration,
Right.
which is what confuses us, because we are actually fighting against
Nature
a
itself.
monster,
Right.
which makes us not align with nature itself.
But the monster that we're fighting against, we're actually fighting against. We could defeat that monster.
But we cannot defeat that monster by becoming that monster.
That's true.
And we alone can defeat that monster's hold on us.
Right.
But the
That's right.
monster physician has to heal itself.
That's correct.
And white supremacy, in order for white supremacy to die, white people are going to have to kill it. And white people don't even want to admit that it exists. Anytime you bring it up,
That's very true. That is
right,
very true.
Right.
Whether you're Democrat or Republican.
Right.
You know?
Right. They don't even want to admit that it's real.
And that's sad, because they're the ones who did it.
And they're the ones
Who invented it.
compete, whose whole identity is, their whole cultural identity is colonialism.
Right.
Their whole cultural identity is the identity of marauders.
But let me ask you something.
That's everything to 'em.
It is. But yet, how can you believe that and don't think that racism exists?
Because you would have to, first of all, you would have to admit that there are certain perks and advantages you get to being white. And they want to think that they're they work harder or they're smarter or
But Nat,
whatever.
you just said a mouthful. White supremacy is based on colonialism,
Right.
imperialism.
Right.
But if it's based on colonialism and imperialism,
Right.
then how come you can't believe that racism doesn't exist? That doesn't make sense. It makes sense to them, but if you see it for what it is.
We started the clip with Joshua Muhammad, a young man from the Nation of Islam. I got that clip because Sunday I shot an event at Mosque number 7.
Right, in Harlem.
It was actually the celebration of the birth of Elijah Muhammad. Now, Elijah Muhammad actually did not know the exact date of his birth. They had it between October 7th and October 9th.
Right.
The Nation of Islam celebrates on October 7th. Okay? Now, a person that they have here, a young lady that they're going to have here, was excoriated by the women's movement because she sat in the audience with Farrakhan.
Really?
This is the irony. On October 7th, we celebrated the birthday of Elijah Muhammad. You see the young man representing
Right.
Elijah Muhammad.
Josh Muhammad.
The day after that, we celebrated Columbus Day. and they had big parade of Columbus. And Columbus was a scourge to whole nations of people.
Right.
I mean,
That's right. That's exactly right.
A scourge. They try to stop at he discovered America.
But he didn't.
He didn't. But they made him some sort of governor of Caribbean islands all over North America, and he was one of the most heinous,
Yep.
savage,
Killers. Yep.
murdering
Yep.
rapists. That has ever existed.
Right.
And in New York City, black people and white people, especially politicians, went out in the middle of the street and celebrated his
From 42nd
existence.
Street
Right.
to 72nd Street up Fifth Avenue.
Right.
That's right.
And say what you want. The best you can come up on Minister Farrakhan is he says some things that you don't like.
Well,
but he ain't never, ever torched the village, raped nobody, murdered children, ate their entrails. None of that crap.
We got 3 minutes.
None of that crap. None of that crap.
You're right. And you know what's sad about the nation? They're on the list of terrorist groups.
Right.
And they're not terrorists.
Right, but Columbus is beloved.
That's bizarre.
By us.
That's crazy.
The fact that they celebrate a mad king is one thing. The fact that we celebrate the person who laid atrocity of atrocity on our people all over the damn planet.
There's only one Christopher I respect. Wallace.
I like
Biggie.
that.
Biggie Small. That's the only one.
You're all right.
Listen, we got a few minutes.
I love it when you call me Big Papa.
Okay, listen up. Guys, we come to you every week uncut and it's raw. We tell you like it is before you can form your own decision. Remember this, shoot for the moon. If you miss, you're still among the stars. And you get to say the last word, brother.
November 6th is coming up. I have never told you ever, never in my life told you to go out and vote because people died so that you could vote. I tell you to vote in your own best interest right now. They died for your freedom, not for your right to vote.
Right.
Voting is a means to an end, but if you vote with an ignorant mind, you will vote ignorantly. You have to free your mind, and your ass will follow, and everybody else's ass will follow. Don't believe me? You can get it from iTunes.
Right.
We'll see you next week.
Right. Hey,
for
look,
now, we out of here.
But remember this: vote, 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 and vote. You heard it. You heard it here first. Thank you, sir. Always a pleasure, brother.
And if you miss the stars, there's something about the moon. He does it real good.
Shoot for the moon. If you miss, you're still among the stars, baby. We're out.
We out. Peace.
It's a good show.
Oh, excellent, brother.